You're listening to the Better Relationships After Baby podcast, where I believe your relationship can be stronger than ever after having a baby. It just takes tools, conversation, and support to help you get there. I'm Chelsea Skaggs, certified life and relationship coach, mom of two, and survivor and thriver of tough relationship challenges after babies. I'm committed to helping couples just like you improve your communication skills, connection points, and personal confidence so that you can have the life and family you've always dreamt of. Now, let's get to today's episode. Hello, friends. Welcome to another episode of the Better Relationships After Baby podcast. I hope that you are enjoying the week so far. I hope that you're feeling motivated and supported and cared for. And I'm so glad that you are here sharing this space with me today. I am excited about this topic because it's actually kind of inspired and compiled from a workshop and teaching from this weekend. I was slated to be one of 7 speakers at an incredible event in Central Ohio. And I woke up the morning of with a staggering headache. My throat was hurting and I was just exhausted. And I wasn't quite sure what I was going to do. I love speaking. I have been looking forward to this opportunity. And I didn't want to leave other people hanging. One of my favorite humans in the world was the main organizer of this. And so I reached out to her and I said, there's a couple options here. One, my husband knows and lives and breathes this stuff with me. And he is willing to step in. 2, I can record myself from home and it can be played there. Or 3, like you can just remove me. Because 4 wasn't an option for me. I did not want to come into a crowded room of excited people and be the person to spread sickness. I just felt like that was a non-negotiable. And so what ended up happening was I spent that morning training my husband on a 7-minute presentation and a 30-minute workshop that I had developed. I was able to talk through the points I wanted to get across and then invite him to put his own angle and flair to it in order to share with this group of people that was together. And I cried tears of joy, you guys, when I saw and heard some of the behind the scenes because he really nailed it. He stepped up to the plate. And if you don't know this, our long-term goal is to travel and speak and hold relationship events and seminars together. We want to really be doing this work together. And so it was really exciting for him to take the ball kind of out of my court into his own. And just that teamwork there was so exciting for me. But I wanted to obviously still show up and talk on this topic. I'm considering doing an online workshop or some other mini workshops here in Central Ohio on the topic, but I wanted to get it out to you via podcast episode so that wherever you are, whenever you're listening, you can work through these things as well. And now I'm like, oh shoot, can I deliver this as well as my husband did? I'm so proud of him. I'm so glad that, we have spent a lot of time on our relationship. We are very different people. We came into our relationship with very different background stories, different ways of living life and seeing all the different aspects of life. And yet we really committed to doing life together. And there's so much we have learned from one another. There are so many pieces of myself that were awakened by Mike. And I think he would say the same. There's so many pieces of him that have been awakened through his relationship with me. And it wasn't always easy, especially after our first child. It felt like so many pieces just weren't aligning as naturally as we thought they would. And we have put a lot of heart and sweat and tears and time and intention and hard conversations into our relationship, so that we can show up in ways like this, so that I can offer coaching, so that he can offer his perspective, so that we can keep building a life that is going to open the doors to do this work in tandem. But this weekend was such a huge testament of that. And I think it's so linked to the topic today, which is getting into the power of personal values in our relationships. Um, this weekend, the way that it happened was only able to happen because we are very value driven, because we are aware of our overlapping and our individual values, because we have conversations that are rooted in this. And therefore, I could trust Mike to take my message in front of people and really honor the heart and essence of what it was. And so I'm not delivering today's episode to say you and your partner are going to need to switch roles or jobs or, step in for one another. This was a really unique experience with that. But I do want to share this because our lives together is so much co-creation. I want you to be able to co-create the life that you want with your partner, not to feel like your desires and needs and values are in competition, not to feel like you have to morph into being the exact same person in order to have a happy long-term relationship, but to know yourself, to know your partner, and to honor the overlap and the individuality in that. And we're going to be exploring why this is crucial and also why this will impact your interactions, your decisions, and specifically how you can use your values to foster teamwork and just bring ease into your partnership. First of all, let's talk about why those personal values matter. Values are the principles and beliefs that guide our behavior and decision making. They are the core of who we are and what we stand for. When we live in alignment with our values, we feel more authentic. We feel more fulfilled. Like, this is important shit, y'all. If you're going to deal with anything, if you're going to get clear on anything, why not make it your values so that then you can lean into and live out the rest of your life with that strong foundation? And also, these are particularly important in our relationship. So, this is a personal thing. Sometimes I'm working with people one-on-one on this because they want that individual experience before working through this with their partners. And sometimes I'm working with people for the first time alongside your partners. Both of these are really valuable. But values shape so much. They shape our expectations. They influence our communication. They guide our reactions to various situations. And so when both partners are aware of their own values and the values of their partner, it creates this foundation of mutual understanding and mutual respect. And this foundation is crucial for navigating all the complexities that are going to happen in your relationship, whether it is something that feels huge, whether it's something that feels small. You want a foundation for navigating these things. So imagine a couple where one person highly values adventure and spontaneity, and the other values stability and routine. If these values aren't recognized and respected, it's going to lead to misunderstandings and conflict. Okay? People are going to feel like their toes are being stepped on or they're being pushed outside their limits. But when both partners can acknowledge and honor each other's values, it can become a strength rather than a source of tension. It's a strength as you grow together. You kind of take a little bit from your partner and emulate it in your life and vice versa. And you create this common ground as far as possible. But then you also get to recognize and respect the differences. And so for this couple, there's going to be a growth area of let's say weekends, for example, building in space for them to have some adventure and spontaneity together while also having some things that are stable in routine, honoring both people. In this example, also, I'm going to want to see that person who values adventure and spontaneity having a way to fulfill that in their life. And maybe that's not with your partner. Maybe that's with a friend or a meetup group, or maybe that bucket is filled by their chosen line of work or a hobby. And I also want to see that person who wants stability and routine to have the freedom to really bring that into the center of their life. So, not feeling bad for that, but having respectful places where that stability and routine is able to be the primary for them. I remember working with a couple last year, and for the sake of this podcast, let's call them Sarah and John. Okay. Sarah valued financial security, and she was very, very cautious with money and all of their spending choices, while John valued experiences. He was more inclined to spend on travel and outings and hobbies. And initially, as you can imagine, this was causing a lot of friction. And I'm not saying it's perfect now, but it's a lot better than it was because we were able to sit down and really understand each person's values in order to find balance. And what this looked like for them was creating a budget that had specific space for savings, and it had a budget line for occasional splurges on experiences. So, this was a compromise that brought them closer and reduced that financial stress and tension that was going between them two. Now, let's talk about how you can use your values to drive important decisions and bring more teamwork into your relationship. So, I'm going to break this down for you into 3 key areas: resolving the conflict, making joint decisions, and prioritizing resources. So, first is the resolving conflict. When it comes to conflict, values need to be a guiding light. They're not a secondary thought. They are like the beacon, the way that we see things. It's the picture frame around the picture. So let's say you and your partner are arguing about household chores. One of you feels overwhelmed and believes the other isn't contributing enough. So here's how we can use your values to navigate this conflict. First of all, identify any relevant values. Reflect on what is important to you in this situation. Maybe it's fairness. Maybe it's responsibility. Maybe it's cooperation. Maybe it's perfection. We want to know what is coming into play. Next, communicate those values. So express these values to your partner. It gets to be the leading point for why something needs to happen. So, for example, I value fairness. So I feel like we should both contribute equally to the household chores. This is going to look very different. This is just an example, but I can hear some of you being like, well, my situation is different, or one person stays home, or we both work outside of the home. Like, whatever the situation is, you get to decide what fairness looks like when it comes to something like household chores. But if that's what's driving you, use that as the example. If it's cooperation, then maybe you want to do more of those things together. Or instead of having repeated delegated tasks every week, you want to sit down once a week and really delegate those and figure out how you are going to cooperate that week. This just decides how you want to approach things. And then you want to understand your partner's values. So, same thing. Ask your partner about their values. Understanding their perspective is going to lead to a more empathetic and constructive conversation. And then the goal here is to find common ground. Work together to create a plan that aligns with both of your values. This might be, for example, setting up a chore schedule that feels fair to both of you. This might be if you are a stay-at-home parent and your other partner is working outside of the home, creating a specific job description for the stay-at-home parent that shows what needs to be done during those hours to kind of fulfill that quote unquote job, and then figuring out what else falls outside of that that needs to be split between the two of you outside of those work areas. Those are two examples I see often. And of course, this is going to be unique to you, your experience, your family. Next, we want to talk about making joint decisions. For joint decisions, such as, let's say, where to spend the holidays, this can be a tense point, especially for parents. Your values can help you find a compromise that honors both partners. So, if one of you values family time and the other values rest and relaxation, you might decide to split the holidays that you have. Spend part of the time with family and part of it having a quiet vacation together. Or you might decide what things you're going to attend together and what things you might attend separately so that the partner who needs it can have more of that time solo, filling their bucket, doing what they need. We want to make these joint decisions. There's so many examples I could give of that. So if you are struggling with a decision and you're seeing this come up, let's talk. Like, reach out to me. I want to help you figure out what values are at play and how to build compromise that honors the togetherness and the individuality that might need to happen. And then this is really similar to prioritizing resources. So when it comes to prioritizing resources like time and money, values, again, play a crucial role. If one partner values financial responsibility and the other values enjoyment, similar to what we talked about earlier, create a system, create a budget that allocates funds to pay off debt while also setting aside money for leisure activities, ensuring that both partners have their values respected and prioritized. This can be the same with time, okay? So I kind of alluded to this earlier, but something that was very prevalent early in our marriage was that I am a very active social person. My cup is filled through extrovert experiences. And so I used to jam pack our weekend schedule, especially with a new baby. And I was staying at home at the time. So I was just dying, you guys, to get out and be social. And so I would add, I would skim Facebook events. I would get together with my friends. Like, I would find every opportunity to be social and to get out. And come to find out, I didn't realize it at first until we had some real communication about this. My partner really wanted some family downtime over the weekend and not to be scrambling and running around everywhere. And so we had to really work for a compromise that brings some social time together and some downtime. And honestly, what I figured out was that it worked a lot better if I created, or we together created, that downtime for my husband to feel like he could just recharge and relax and be safe at home with the family without all the external stressors, to have that filled. And then we could go out socially as a family and have that enjoyment. But we really were tense on that at first because I'm like, why don't you want to be social? Why don't you like our friends? How can you not want to take our kid to every single pumpkin patch and hayride possible during the months of September and October? Like, we've got to get all this shit in. And he was like, I'm exhausted. I just want to relax with my family, to like lean into a place where I don't have to perform and I can just let my walls down a little bit. But it took a lot of conversation and understanding to get there. Guys, I want you to be able to have this strong foundation in yourself, in yourselves, and in your relationship together. Because by identifying and aligning these values, you can make decisions that strengthen your relationship and bring more teamwork and ease into your daily life. These values are a compass for you through conflict and decision and resource allocation with clarity and mutual respect. Those are so important, that we get clarity in ourselves and with our partners, and that we show that mutual respect. I really encourage you to take some time to identify your own values and discuss them with your partner. I have a few exercises that I walk my clients through in order to do this and in order to transform your relationship. So, if this is something that speaks to you, reach out. Let me know that this is a goal of yours, that having clarity on your values would help you to make decisions, to have respectful communication, to talk about your resources. Like, you deserve that. And I can help you get there if you're listening to this and you know that you want that change. So don't be afraid to reach out. I can share with you multiple ways that we can approach that through coaching, through support, so that you're not wasting time trying to make decisions with all this hubbub. Like, you can lead with your values so that you're not dealing with so much resentment and tension because you're not having clear conversations about why the things matter to you. You want more clarity. You want more of that understanding in your relationship because it's going to help you show up for yourself, show up for one another, and show up for the other people in your life that you want to be able to show up for. All right. I'm Chelsea. I'm here to support you, love you, encourage you, hold you accountable. And I'm so glad that you joined me this week. If we are not connected, come find me on Instagram. And if you want to explore coaching with me, head to that description in the podcast and you will see my link to sign up for a free exploration call. It's no pressure. If it's not the right fit for you, I don't want to work together either. So I'm not going to push you, but I really want you to be able to understand what kind of support is available and why it can be really transformational for you in your life. Until next time, I'm rooting for you. I'm rooting for your family. And we are here to, change society, change the world, change our communities, starting in your own home. If you enjoyed this episode, I would be so grateful if you take a minute to help spread the word. As a small business owner, shares and reviews go a long way. So share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, and please leave a review if you haven't done so. This helps these messages get to more mamas, and you guys, that's how we change the world.